Hello, welcome along to the show. Whilst obviously we can't, we are what we are, called what we are, and of course it is a very famous football chant. I decided not to play the normal intro tonight out of respect. And those that were watching myself and Brad last night, we started the show before the announcement, and it was only, I think, like an hour and a half into the show when it was obvious what had gone on, and we ended the show straight away. But life still goes on, but it goes on respectfully. So as I've put in the chat, that we will talk about many things. It's not a subject we're going to be avoiding, but I would just basically ask you, obviously, due to recent events, please keep all the questions and comments respectful. I don't want to have to throw anybody out, block anybody, etc. But I just ask you to observe that. Rico is in. Good evening. God save the king. Indeed. And it feels very weird saying that. I've got to be honest with you. I, along with, looking at my age, with most of the people in this group, only have ever known one monarch, so it does seem very strange, but we wish him all the best. Manny is in. Hello Manny, welcome along. I saw you earlier in Brad's chat. I hope you are well, sir. Good evening, thank you for doing this. May God safeguard and manage your soul and give strength to King Charles and the family and the countries and the people she loved, of course. And let's be honest with you, she was our Queen, but she was also the Queen of many Commonwealth states, and we shouldn't forget that either. So tonight it is the question show, question time. I'm going to be joined, I think, by Brad in a minute, but he looks like he's disappeared a little bit, so I'm not sure whether he's gone or not. Let's try and bring him in. Brad, are you there? Earth calling Brad. I think he has disappeared. He said, "Be right back." Well, let's bring in our special guest. What can I say about him that isn't libelous? Some call him the Lost Dingle. Some say he's the only ginger in the village. All we know is he's called the Dan. Welcome back, sir.
Championship Dan is back in the building.
Welcome along. Welcome along.
Well, what's this Premier League content all about? This is new to me. I've never been around this parts for a while.
Well, you wouldn't have been, mate. You wouldn't have been. I have to say, I have had. Well, we've had a. When I say so much, I can't say so many. And to be asking where you'd gone, and it wasn't. In fairness, I've got to be honest with you, Well, we didn't have any, but I just thought, let's bring you back. What a jingle. It's horrible. Says, hi, Phils. Feel like we're in lockdown again, freaking me out.
I'm sorry. This is the way I was born. I wasn't in a house fire. I know, I understand it. It's just my face. It's a radio face. I get it. I apologise.
Brad, I mean, you're sporting I had a shave last night. Halfway through, just before our show last night, Brad, halfway through, my shaver went out on me. So I'd actually, I was hoping you didn't notice. I don't know that you did, that half my face was sort of shaved and half of it wasn't. So
no, I did not notice that.
No, good. I got away with it. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, thanks for that. Literally, as you said, we're ready to go, and just as you were coming to the end of that, my bladder went, oi, guess what? So I just had to do a quick dash while you spoke to thin air. I could hear you as I was running up the stairs. I was like, oh, God.
I tell you what, you could go on Britain's Got Talent. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Brad and his talking bladder. Hello. Talk to the audience. Hello, audience. Anyway, Matty says it's gone downhill already, hasn't it? So much for keeping an air of decorum. Manny says hello again, Brad.
All right, matey.
I hope you subbed to Brad's channel, and I hope you also subbed to mine if you joined as well. And also, Dan, his details are below. If you do get a bit bored with Premier League football and maybe midweek night, got nothing better to do, his details are in the chat below as well. Turf Morehouse TV. You missed my great introduction to Dan as well, then.
I did. I certainly did.
I think we should do it again, Dan. What do you think?
Why not?
Let's do it again, just for Brad. And our special guest this evening, some say he's the lost dingle. Others say he's the only ginger in the village. It is, or we know him as, the Dan.
Oh, shit, are we doing it again? Can we do it again? No, thanks for having me back, Chris. I really do appreciate it.
I Googled insults about Burnley. Just so bloody many.
It's hard to narrow it down to just one narrative, isn't it?
It is. Well, those are the two I started with. I thought, I'm going to see if there's anyone's better. I would have been here all night, Manny, I've just rejoined after watching King Charles's address. Very excellent speech he did. Still seems weird though. It's still just, it's strange. So anyway, tonight's show, because obviously there's no games this weekend. Probably not next weekend because of the actual funeral itself, and then the weekend after it's obviously the international break. So
some of us have a Tuesday game, Chris.
Not in the Premier League, eh, Brad?
Yeah, right. Some of us get the luxury, mate.
We're not in Europe now either, so we don't have a midweek distraction.
No,
to be fair, it's not a bad one. We've got a trip to Preston, so we've got a nice little derby on a Tuesday night.
Well, if it goes ahead.
That is true. Like
I say, this is the question time show. So, guys, the way in the chat, way this works, if you're new to the chat, is we don't have an agenda. We don't have a topic. It's basically we're here to answer your questions about football. Mainly, obviously, a lot of the time it's about Leicester because it's a Leicester channel. But our normal presenter on this, Dave, he didn't feel he was up to doing a show tonight. So respect to him for making that decision. And obviously, Dan was good enough to stand in. But you ask the questions and then we discuss them and not necessarily give an answer. And if we do, it's probably not the one you want to hear. But let's start this off. I'm going to come to you first, Brad, simply because you're on the left now as I look at you. Games this weekend, I mean, they have all been cancelled. I kind of expected tonight to be cancelled, and obviously Burnley were due to play tonight, Norwich. But Brad, do you think that they should be cancelled?
It's a catch-22, isn't it? Because nobody's going to realistically agree with it. It feels like the right thing to do, but then you remember all the footballing moments she was in attendance for. You know, she was there to hand the boys the cup in '66. You know, and I do see that side of it. I do see what a lot of these footballers, and not just footballers, pros of other sports as well, are saying that there should be. She'd want us to continue playing it. You know, we're a nation of roll your sleeves up, get on with it sort of thing. And I think she's always been like that herself. You know, she rolls her sleeves up all the time, and I can see definitely the argument for it. But it just feels like it's like a natural thing you do, don't you, when it's something like this, something this dramatic. It's not. Because it's not like losing a celebrity, is it? We've literally lost the queen of this country, and she's been the queen of this country for 70 years. So it almost feels like it's a given that for this weekend, you know, because of the timing of it as well, that maybe the sports and all the sports, not just football, every sport shouldn't be.
Oh yes.
In this country anyway, at least.
Football channel. I mean, Dan, 10 days of mourning has been announced. And I'm not a morning person, so I don't know how I'm going to cope. But, I mean, do you feel we should be playing this weekend?
I can see the for and against. And I'm speaking posh when I say against, because usually I just go against in old Burma language, but yeah, I can see the for and against in the situation. To be honest, you know, she has been quite an advocate for sport, as Brad said. She, you know, we've seen the cricket. The cricket got curtailed, but then apparently got put back on. So, regarding the Premier League, the EFL, throughout the football pyramid, I do think that, you know, they've obviously been told it's down to them as an organisation whether what they want to do. So if that is the case, then I can't fault them for calling it off, because this is something that we've never gone through in our lifetime. We've never had to see this change of a monarch. So, you know, I was speaking to friends tonight that if it sounds wrong to put it this way, but, you know, as a 31-year-old, if we last as long as the Queen, there's a potential we could see 4 monarchs since then. We're not going to see a reigning monarch that's going to last as long as this one. So I understand the reason. I do understand the reasoning for it, but I also understand the reasoning against it, especially when we've had COVID and we've had all the situation with, you know, people's mental capacity, you know, how sometimes football can be a release. It's their get out. So I see the for and against, but I do believe firmly that this weekend, at least, bare minimum, I understand.
The surprising thing I got out of that was actually that you've got friends. I mean, Manny says here, the only reason the cricket is continuing is because it's already started. And I suppose the games last night, the European games last night, you could not, when you've got a stadium full of fans. I mean, it was what time was it here? About 7, 6:30, 7. Half 7, 8 o'clock abroad, if you like, because of the difference. So you couldn't at that point say to the stadium of fans, and be honest with you, only half that stadium would be English fans, that it's cancelled. So I don't know why the cricket's continuing. I've got to be honest with you, because it's a 5-day event, so you just stop it. If you stop it at the end of the day, you can restart it. My worry is, and I'm not having a go here at any particular clubs, but you'll probably guess who I'm going to be talking about, and it's only because of recent events, that if we have if the game was to go ahead, it would go ahead with a minute's silence. And again, Brad, I'll come to you with this one first. Some clubs would not observe that silence. There are clubs out there that are saying we're not even part of England. And I particularly don't want to see that on my screen, on my computer, whatever. I know it's a free country, but come on, whether you're a royalist or not, like you said, 70 years, 96 years old, and I honestly think that would have happened.
The problem is, you know, you're going to get that either way. It doesn't matter if you're postponing it for 1 week, 2 weeks. Match of the day's going to be back on our screens. Footballers are going to be back out on that pitch, whether it's next weekend or whatever. Eventually, they're going to have it, and every club will decide for the right of doing things outweighing, you know, the people's opinion, because it's not universally in these areas that it's all like that. But I get what you're saying without saying it. And then it's up to the companies that put these shows on. Do you just do a pan of all the grounds in silence, showing that they've got the memoriam up for it, and not risk the sound? Because without saying a club, I think we all know who we're talking about. You know, they're going to have volatile people that turn up and are going to do these actions. It can't be helped in this circumstance for everything that's gone on and how they feel detached from the United Kingdom. So it's all about how it's done, because at the end of the day, they're going to do it whether you like it or not, whether you think it's right or wrong, looking at it from all aspects and that. You know, even if the games went ahead or didn't, it doesn't matter. The next game, they're going to do it. Every club in the United Kingdom will put a picture up, and if they don't, they'll get blanked out match of the day. They'll get blanked out of the news reports. They'll get blanked out. You know, maybe the BBC will make a big hoo-ha and try and burn the torch of it, but you don't know until it happens, mate.
No, but I mean, let's be honest with you. And Box has just said here, welcome along, Box. Welcome along, Chris Welsh as well. Get to your comment in a second. The people who would have been disrespectful in the minute silence would be the first to complain if someone disrespected their minute silence. Let's call it out for what it is, Dan. Liverpool, Man City. Liverpool showed disrespect Man City showed disrespect to Liverpool when there was a minute silence for the 96.
Yeah,
and then Liverpool went and disrespected a minute silence for it was something royal, I believe, and on God Save the Queen or whatever they were whistling. So yeah, exactly. You know, we don't like you doing that, but we're a nation of whingers now, aren't we? You know, and maybe at those grounds, maybe we should have a minute's applause.
Yeah, I mean, we only have to look at West Ham's game last night. I think. And I put it out on a tweet that, you know, West Ham do get a lot of bad press because of, you know, the fact that they're a London club, you know, the West Ham Millwall stuff and things like that. But ever since they've made that move from Upton Park to the Olympic Stadium, they've sort of mellowed as a club. Okay, I understand the tennis balls on the pitch, the situation with Gold and Sullivan and stuff like that. But what they did last night, whether it was a minute's applause, whether it was a minute's silence, they sang the national anthem. They clapped as they sang it. Do that the 1 week, maybe the weekend prior to the funeral. Do it the next 2 weeks. No, the next 2 weekends, whatever the situation. But after that, that's it. And that's all it needs to be. There doesn't need to be any drama. We could, you know, This is something that's new to everybody. This isn't a situation that's a case of, oh, such and such a person's died, we need to represent them. You know, like a club's biggest fan or a former player. This is the Queen. This is somebody who has represented our country for longer than any of us have even been on this planet. You know, she's been in for 70 years of service plus, and she at least deserves the credibility, no matter what, you know, no matter what race, no matter what the situation, she deserves to at least be supported because, and whether that's with curtailing football or whether that's with this, you know, a minute's applause, a minute's silence, however your club sees fit. It's the least this person deserves.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I was saying applause because it would drown out the idiots that.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I mean, we do have a minute's applause for a football fan from another club, that a football player, even fans. Let's be honest with you, we have applause for fans these days. When they pass on, and I say that if you can't keep quiet for a minute, for God's sake, what's the world coming to? I mean, Chris Welsh here says F1 is continuing because it's in a different country as well. You see, I get that. Yeah. I don't expect, if India are playing Pakistan at cricket, and I know India and Pakistan are both in the Commonwealth, but I wouldn't expect that necessarily to stop. Certainly not if it was Switzerland versus, Austria in a football game. Why should that? I get that. I understand F1 going ahead. The British drivers, it's up to them, really. It's they would make that decision. Ifield's Fox says here, country's already up to his eyes in debt. The next test day will cost billions. It will cost the funeral, I guess, but I mean, we've got 10 days of mourning, and people. I'm not being awful. I think Highfields, but you said, it's another lockdown. Well, it isn't. Shops aren't shutting. Flags will be flown at half-mast.
They've even said as well, Chris. They've even said it's not going to be a bank holiday. What it's going to be is a national day of mourning, and it's up to employers whether they want to tell their employees you can take the day off, you can watch the funeral, you can do this, you can do that. I think that's the right way of approaching it. Instead of going, right, everybody off, that's it, the world must stand still. Because there is a lot of people that aren't royal. I'll hold my hands up. I'm not a royalist, but it did feel like losing a grandparent. Yeah. This is somebody who, to be honest, if they hadn't have snuffed it, I wouldn't have given a second thought tonight. I'd have been talking football, the thought of the Queen would not have gone through my memory. No. But this is a monarch that has been in as long reign, done a lot for the not even just the country of England, but for the Commonwealth, the world.
Is it?
And there's going to be a period of change. And as I say, I'm glad that it's not a case of bank holiday. It's a case of it's up to you. It's up to you. If you want to support it, support it. If you don't, it's totally your choice.
Brad, I think anyway, it's a weekend, isn't it? The funeral? It's going to be a weekend.
I assume so, if the dates are correct on how long it is, but that's in regards of the matter. I do agree with Dan. It shouldn't be made a holiday, because some people strongly, and I'm sorry to say it, but we can't sit here and say this and not look at the other side. But like you said about Liverpool, there is parts of the UK and people in the UK that do not care. With the greatest respect, they're not coming out, not being awful, but these people that are going with great respect, I don't care about the Royals. Meh, it's sad, but they're not as as involved as some people are in terms of it. And I
live in a free country. We're not
exactly.
They are constitutionally heads of the country, but they're not voted in, so you don't have to like.
No, exactly. And I think as employees and employers, it should just be a case of a standard meeting or email, however you want to do it. You don't have to do it by carrier pigeons because the Queen's dead. You can still do it the modern way. You can still send an email over 2 minutes and say, look, we normally work, if you work on a Saturday or whenever what day it is, I understand some of you might not care and want to come into work, the door will be open. But if you don't, if you want to see the funeral.
Businesses could even say, take the day off, you can make up the hours at a later date.
Yeah.
That way, no one's losing pay. Everybody's still, as it is, and there's no drama to it.
Andrew, I'm just going to say, sorry guys, I'm just going on to my other. I'm just removing your comment as a first warning. I just say at the top, be respectful, and the fact that you're talking what you said. I just don't like that. I don't like it. I'm sorry, Andrew. It's yeah. The two things aren't connected. I'm sorry. Now Scott says here, look at boxing, for example. The boxers have so much they have to do before a fight, and yet they've rescheduled fights in respect. Totally. But obviously, again, with boxing, you know, how often are fights cancelled at the last minute because of injuries?
Yeah.
You know, and Brighton have cancelled the game against Crystal Palace anyway. I think it was this weekend because of the train strike.
What a farce. What an absolute farce. It's 40 minutes away. I'm not being funny, but when Burnley play Blackburn, yes, okay, that's probably about half an hour away in a car on the motorway, dependent on traffic. So, to be honest with you, I think especially when it's a rivalry, because it's a rival match, why can't the away team like Palace go, you know what? When you buy a ticket, or those who have bought tickets, come down to the club shop. We will sort you out with free travel to the away to the game, and we will put on coaches for the away side. Okay, it's a bit different now because obviously the whole of football is curtailed. But at the time, cutting a game due to rail strikes. I mean, come on. There were rail strikes when Burnley had to travel to Watford on a Tuesday night. Nobody batted an eyelid then. I'm sorry, I know it's the Championship and I know people probably don't give a shit, but when it comes to it, you're having to travel from Lancashire to London when travel is a farce as it is. You're 40 minutes away. You're 40 minutes away against your biggest rivals. Put some coaches on. Put coaches on and get the play and get them there. And that was, but that argument is prior to obviously what's happened.
Oh yes, and well, that takes us right on. Let's move on to that point then, because it is not just one topic this show. As soon as you brought that up, Dan. I mean, Brad, your thoughts on it? I mean, I kind of get it because Brighton and London, because of the situation they're in, it is a commuter run. Most people that live in Brighton and work in London use the train, and so maybe they can't all get in cars. They all haven't got cars. Whatever, you like to go on a match and drink beer. Maybe I don't know how far Brighton looked into this, to be honest with you, but maybe they could have just put on a load of coaches, charge the fans because we're going to pay for the train anyway. But there's a coach company out there thinking, I could have made a fortune here.
Yeah, but with the greatest respect, it's not a club's, it's not a club's prerogative to suddenly put on something to dip into their own pocket and immediately.
No, I'm not saying they could have contacted a local coach company. I'm not saying pay for it.
Brad, to answer that question, when Burnley play Blackburn, they expect when you buy your ticket, you have to pay an extra £6, or that's what it were last time we played each other at Ewood Park. We had to pay an extra £6, and that was your coach travel to the game. Now, people that are Burnley fans that live in Blackburn had to travel to Burnley to get on one of the battle buses, as we called them, to then obviously head to the game. So if it's meant to be as big as a rivalry as it is, and I'm talking pre the situation that's occurred in the royal family,
obviously,
then surely a club like Palace, who have got the money, because we all know Burnley don't have a pot to piss in and barely spend anything, in debt and stuff now.
Can I just say, stop calling me Shirley?
Yeah.
But Palace and Brighton, surely have the money to cover the cost of if people pay £6 a head and fill a coach. That's got to be more than enough for a 40-minute journey.
I'm just having a look when that game is actually.
I mean, to answer your question, Dan, that's all well and great that that you know the insides and outs of Burnley, but neither of us know the insides and outs of how Brighton do it or how Crystal Palace do it. And the thing is, you're never obligated to it. Yes, it seems like it's the sporting thing to do, and maybe it comes with a little bit of expectation, but also it's an immediate action. They're thinking of the safety of people travelling. You know, it's a 40-minute journey, so there may have still been a coach already booked, but it costs to get that in, and the cost is high. And whether they could afford it or not isn't the point. That club's not going to see that money again. And with the way of the world and the way football's run these days, unfortunately, a supporter's going to turn around and say, why should we give you any extra money? Because they would ask for it in some form or another. You might think they do it free out of the goodness of their heart. That's very rare these days. And I'm not saying they wouldn't, but let's talk as if they were Glazers for a second. They'd probably charge you a £5 and say they'll give you a Christmas bonus at the end to refund.
But would you as a fan rather pay £5, £6 to get on a coach to travel 40 minutes to a game that's a derby than apparently spend 15, 16 quid on a return train ticket that obviously they can't use because the trains are on strike? So if anything, one, you're saving money. Yeah. Two, okay, yeah, it's going to leave the club out of pocket by what? A couple of grand? It's a pittance to a club.
I'm going to come in there. Why are we expecting either club to pay for it?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think it's stupid, and no disrespect to Burnley, but Burnley fans had to travel to Burnley to get on the coach.
I think it's a police matter more than anything because of how big the rivalry can be.
Yeah.
When it is a rivalry.
I don't know about Palace, Brighton. I mean, there is a lot of rivalry there. It was actually supposed to be on the 17th, which is a week on Saturday. Now, there's a train strike. I get it. Like I say, I used to go to London regularly. Well, I say regularly. 2 or 3 times I went when I was going on Talk Sport at night. It cost me a tenner there and back on the bus. It was 50, 60 quid plus if I went on the train.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a bit quicker, but it was 50 odd quid more expensive. So people, I'm sure, and like I say, some local bus company around Crystal Palace surely got thinking like, well, they may not have been approached. But I'm just going to have a look, just out of interest. So next Saturday, which is the 17th.
But they would get subsidised travel due to the fact that
Bournemouth. Sorry, Dan. Newcastle are playing Bournemouth. How the fuck are the Newcastle fans going to get to Bournemouth? This is a train strike.
I'm actually sat here. I'll tell you something, Chris. I'm sat here, right? I've bought a ticket for the Preston game on Tuesday. Now, obviously, there's a rail strike on. Getting there is fine. Getting there, I'll be able to get there in enough time on a train. But there is no trains on a Tuesday night on the way back. So I'm thinking, shit, it's pointless me going there and then going, how do I get back? So I'm at a point now. I'm at a crossroads, literally. I mean, my wallet's upstairs, but the ticket's in there. I'm thinking, shit, how do I get from A to B and B back to A? And to be fair, that's a rivalry in itself, Burnley-Preston. Yes, okay. It's been a friendly over the recent years because we've been in the Prem for so long. But now it is what it is. We're back fighting amongst each other in the same league. And on a Tuesday night, I'm now thinking, I've said to Kate tonight, I said it earlier, I said, I don't even know whether I'll be able to make it on Tuesday. And she said, she's even said, I'll take you there and back. But it's the fact that we've got kids and stuff like that. And I said, well, I wouldn't want you driving. I wouldn't want you doing that. Staying up till 10 o'clock at night, having to pick me up after a football match that starts at 8. You know, it's the kids that suffer. I wouldn't want that. So, you know, I've got to now try and find means and ways. And I've even said to her tonight, I'm contemplating selling my ticket because I can't get to and from.
Yeah. I mean, Brad, do you think that fans could find another way? I mean, like I say, Newcastle, Bournemouth, if they'd called that off, I kind of get it. But again, you know, there's got to be a coach company in Newcastle that could say, oh, you know, we'll put a coach on us. You know,
I mean, first of all, I failed geography because it never interested me. So I barely know I barely know me ups from my downs.
It's a long way. Let's just say Bournemouth
so
and Newcastle is a long way.
I gathered that was where I know that Newcastle's where they are, but you know, I was just like, I'm guessing it's quite a bit different. See, the problem is it's also circumstantial, right? Because Brighton and Palace actually is 40 minutes away. So probably the majority of people would have been literally going by car or by train and wouldn't have been an away travel coach like most things. The train strike doesn't affect a Bournemouth Newcastle games with the greatest respect because the home fans, most of them are in a local area. Bournemouth, in comparison to others, is a smaller place. And Newcastle fans would, 80% of them will be on their way travel coaches. So they'll be on the road anyway. What the complication of a tube strike does for a local derby is there ain't going to be no away travel. There ain't going to be 3 or 4 coaches ready to pick up 80% of the away fans to take them to the ground. If there is, I'd be very surprised. You might get one at a push that's like a 30-seater or something. But you're going to be depending on the roads and the cars. And if you take one of their methods out, roads and cars, so think about it, they're roads, you know, the cars, I meant the trains and the cars. If you take one of the big ways, and it's going to be pretty split on which method of transport they take for that game, because it is a short journey, you're suddenly then forgetting that if they all have to go on the road, everybody's leaving work, everybody's getting home, the roads are going to be chocker. They're going to have an extra couple of thousand on the road because they've got to get there. Yes, I know not everybody's going to be able to get there because their train might be the only way. They might not drive. Like Dan saying, well, don't drive. But I'm not asking my missus because we've got kids to pick me up at 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's not safe. I don't want to walk it. Sod doing that for a game of toy soldiers. At a game, even if it kicks off at 12:30, you won't want to walk all the way back because it's longer than 40 minutes.
I don't fancy setting off Monday morning to go up to Preston. I'll tell you that now.
So when you, in terms of
the Jarrow walk again, isn't it? But twice as far.
Exactly. But that's why I'd say it's not actually as big a surprise as people maybe think. I don't think it's a rivalry. I'm sure that might have something to do with it in terms of the policing as well. But you're restricting pretty much to one form of transport to get to a game because of the distance. Whereas the Bournemouth Newcastle, with such a big difference, like I said, 80% of that away fan is going by the travel. Would be the replacement, and I think that's why ultimately they decided on it because of the biggest impact it'll have on the fans getting there.
Indeed. We're off to the.
I could get into politics.
Sorry, mate.
I could get into politics, couldn't I? Because I make it sound like I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
No, because you answer questions. Or actually, yes, you could, because you don't answer the original question.
Yeah, I'll work around back to it.
Anyway, the next question will be coming up straight after.
It's the Big Fat Football Quiz with Leicester LTIDtv.
So you think you know your football?
Well, let's see.
We certainly didn't ask Dan back for his dancing. We haven't got any football games coming up for a couple of weeks, I'm guessing, so we're going to have a few quizzes in there. Next Wednesday, join us for the inaugural Pick and Mix. We've got Reese joining us, who recently got knocked out by Rob, believe it or not, in the home and away, and we'll have plenty of home and aways as well. Brad's going to be careful he's not charged with bullying because he's up against a 15-year-old. And
the other way around.
Exactly the same with Dan. I'd be interested to see if 2 15-year-olds get through. But that's the home and away. On this one, we can't say this anymore. We can't take the piss out of Ted Lasso anymore. Or Lasso? Ted Lasso, is it? We can't do it anymore, Brad, because we've got a USA coach coaching us now? Scott asked this a while ago, so I apologise for the lateness of finally getting your question in here, Scott. I will come to you first, Brad, because Dan may not actually know anything about this one. But what does he says? What do we think of our new tactic coach? He's USA and Danish title winner.
Yeah.
Lars Nunsdon.
Yeah, I know Lars Dunstan very well. Yeah, me and him go way back.
You know the story being a Leicester fan. That's all I was thinking.
No, yeah, I mean, finally, I mean, God, I mean, that must. I bet he made spelling errors. That's what was wrong with his visa. It weren't that they were like, "There's no way this is your last name," and he had to prove it. And then he, But at least we got someone in. Hopefully, he can fix the immediate problem. He's, silver linings. I guess you want to tongue in cheek it a little bit and try and make everybody smile. Silver lining for Leicester fans is this coach is going to have a couple of weeks to sort it out at least. He's got a job on his hands. I hope he's getting paid more than Brendan if he can sort it out. It's good. Finally, we've got a coach that might actually know what they're doing. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
21 of the 59 Premier League goals City conceded came from dead ball situations last season. Have you got a set piece coach at Burnley, Dan?
Yeah, we have. I think he's from Belgium. Don't ask me to pronounce his name because I couldn't tell you.
So what's his name?
It's an hope, I think.
Oh yeah, he's half Korean. It's Fu Kin Itano. That's who you've got. I remember that Korean Belgium. Yeah. There you go.
But to be fair, I do admire what Leicester are trying to do. You've needed something. For me personally, and I think a lot of Leicester fans will think the same. Colo Touré, as good as he was a defender, a set piece coach or a defensive coach, nah. We've seen it for too long now at Leicester. We've seen it for too long that what's changed? If anything, the defence, the set piece side of things, it's gone backwards. This guy's going to come in, hopefully tactically it will work, but he's got to work alongside other coaches. And if them other coaches need to work with him as a main tactic coach and say, listen, yeah, that will work well with this tactic. That will, do well. And I'm not just playing, as much as it sounds like I'm playing the shit at Colo Touré's doorstep, there is going to be a lot on that backroom staff. I mean, we can all say manager for a start, but there's got to be something that needs to change. And if it takes a tactic coach to come in and shape up a shit out situation, if it works, brilliant. But I think there needs to be more than just implementing one person and hoping that there's success off the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, Brad, and yes, we did, Scott. I just said USA and Danish. It says here, and I'm quoting obviously from the esteemed journal that is the Leicester Mercury. The Dane is highly rated in the field, but then again, you could say so is the Scarecrow. And we'll double up with these duties.
I like that.
I might allow that one. For that one, let me just have a look. I can't give myself a whack. I'll give myself a... You go on.
No, you're so grateful for taking compliments, aren't you?
Yeah. Anyway, so the Dane is highly rated in the field and will double up his duties as set piece coach for the USA national team. So he's not all us. Having been appointed to that role earlier in the summer in preparation for the World Cup in Qatar this winter. Previously, he was head coach of Denmark's national youth teams, where he was formerly assistant manager at Midtjylland, where he won the Danish title. He won the Danish title in 2018, so he's a bit of a Graham Potter, wins things in Scandinavia. The club's success was built on a strong set-piece game, with 25 of their 80 goals coming from dead balls. Rogers said of his appointment, he currently works for the USA national team. He worked before with the Danish national team. So basically, he said what the Leicester Mercury have just typed out. But he did come highly recommended with a German coach. Let's face it, Brad, can't get any worse, can it?
No, it can't. It certainly can't come any worse in terms of how the defence is doing at the moment. And again, I hate to try and come out and seem like it's a defensive, but you have to take everything into consideration. That Rodgers and Colo are to blame, because the teacher only teaches what he's told to teach. I know that was a lot, and I'd like to see you try and say that after a couple of beers. But it is. He's only teaching them what the way Brendan wants them to defend and wants them to. You know, we saw it last year with the zonal marking, and once he scrapped that, magically our form turned around. It's amazing what you do when you change up your ideas. But, you know, he also takes the blame because he's not maybe inspiring Brendan or coming up with ideas to help Brendan out and give him a reason to trust him more. He needs the help. Slight correction, though, on something that Dan said. It does look bad because of how many goals we've conceded this season. It's probably already worse than last season at this point. But they haven't actually come that many from set pieces. I think barring the McAllister free kick against us, maybe a Jamie Vardy own goal. That one was maybe off a corner. Yeah. But I don't actually think we conceded from a corner yet this season. Someone will no doubt correct me, but the only one that's springing to mind in these first 6 games is the Brighton free kick in the recent defeat. So something has improved, but it seems like we can't get that balance. And hopefully this guy can bring his go team go. I mean, his American know-how and bring it to this. You know, give me a D, give me an E, give me. You know,
I would prefer it if he'd been defensive coach for the Germans or something like that. It can't get any worse. I mean, David's asking what you were saying. How much does Toure have control for? At the end of the day, it all comes down from Rodgers. It's the Christmas tree effect. Doug, you've got a very good question there. We will come back to that in a second. I love that comment of the day here.
That's why Squirtle Gummidge has been mentioned today.
I didn't call you that. I said dingle.
No, I called somebody else that, Chris, if you remember our conversation.
You did indeed. Yes. Yeah. But, well, question for Dan here, actually. Welcome, says David.
What are your
thoughts on how Burnley and Vincent Kompany are doing this year? Anything you were disappointed with in the team's performance or tactics? I don't even know where you are in the table.
To be honest. I think we've dropped to 5th, if I believe. And that's only after recent results. To be fair, I am very happy. I couldn't give 2 shiny shots about the result at the moment. It's still very early in the season. So much change has happened at this club. You know, new manager, new philosophy, new tactic, new starting 11. How you can look at this team and go, how have you gone from Dash Ball, Brexit FC to having a multilingual team? A multilingual team.
Is that the Irish National Airline?
Yeah, we've got one Irish player, the rest are English. It's multilingual now. But you know, we've got most of our squad are of foreign descent. You know, our keeper is
a goalkeeper.
He's a goalkeeper. Yeah, I forgot what he is. I think Arrow Muric from Man City. I forgot what he is. I don't know where he's.
He's foreign. Let's just say he's foreign.
He's foreign. Yes. We've got Ian Matson at left back. He's Dutch. We've got Samuel Bastian. We've got Josh Cullen, he's Irish, fair enough, still British Isles, but up top we've got Darko Churlinov. It's hard to think of these players because I'm thinking, shit, who did we sign? We signed,
But
we signed
16 players.
Yes, we signed 16 new players.
All right, Dan, stop moving in. You made 16 signings. We got a free agent on one. I get it. All right.
No, but to be fair though, Brad, we are in a period of change. Yeah, exactly.
Get off.
No,
off the team.
We're in a massive period of change, and I will be honest, and I'll tell you, hand on heart, if somebody said Company or Rooney, I'd have said Rooney because of the fact that he'd already been in English football. Yeah. But Company has come in. He's given us a sort of Man City style of play, playing out from the back, possession style football, trying to play on the front foot, and it's literally everything you would not associate with Burnley. So at the moment, I cannot grumble, I cannot falter. Everything is still brand new. Each player is still trying to, work out their teammates' strengths and weaknesses. So once we get it right, it should be good. And I'm looking forward to if we do instantly come up, seeing how we fare in the Premier League. But then yet again, hopefully Leicester are with us because at the moment it's looking like we may swap.
I mean, Brad,
it's looking like there might be a swift change.
Brad, our new Championship favourite team are in 7th place. Blackburn Rovers with George Hurst on loan. And because our second favourite Championship team, Bristol City, are 4th with Nigel Pearson in charge. So, we've got a good reason for those two teams to do well.
I thought Blackburn had been promoted. Blackburn got promoted in August, didn't they?
Probably. But I believe this weekend, know that Burnley are bringing out their season highlights, just in case.
I mean, you have got to give credit to Vincent Kompany because it takes a really strong-headed manager to turn a Burnley team from, I want to say, table football to actually moving around on the pitch. Like table football where somehow you'd kick the goalkeeper and you'd spin all the players around and miss it, and it somehow go in. That's the sort of football Burnley got used to because that's the only way that we're scoring. It was like table football; they never moved. So fair play to Vincent Kompany. He's actually woke Burnley fans up playing in the Championship. So I'm glad that it's improved for your viewing, mate, on that case. But yeah,
a question here that is actually. They've sorted itself out in the chat, so I might as well not ask it. But as it is the next question up, I will anyway. Do you guys think Brendan Nosey is on borrowed time? And if this is the case, who do you think the board will look at in replacing him? Could we potentially see Thomas Tuchel at Leicester or not? There was, as this was what is being said further down the chat, in Zagreb the other night, apparently Thomas Tuchel was there and somebody, I don't know, it was Top or one of the Leicester owners was there as well. I've only seen that as a tweet, so I generally think that is probably the proverbial poo out of a cow's backside, to be honest with you. I would even take that as a with a pinch of salt. I don't know whether Top was there. I doubt it very much. Why would he be there? But yes, I would take Thomas in a heartbeat, wouldn't you, Brad?
I mean,
forgetting the money and whether they could afford him, but as a coach, stroke manager, whatever you want, I would take him.
60% win rate at Chelsea as well. And as much as they are 1-0 wins, just remember you won the league on 1-0 wins. So surely you would take that.
No, Shirley wouldn't take it.
No, stop calling me Shirley.
Stop asking Shirley. She's not in the show, mate.
Shirley is damaged goods. She's took enough.
I know, right?
No, well, let her go then. Unlock your basement. Let her out.
I can't. I like performing on big stages.
Don't call Kate a stage.
And don't say it's a big performance for you, Dan. But no, I mean, yeah. I mean, we talk about, first of all, I don't think he's always going to be on borrowed time. Any manager's on borrowed time, but whether they get the blessing of the owners or not, they want to back them. They're on some form of borrowed time. Now, for us fans, it's so borrowed, we're actually asking for the late fee for his leaving party. But, you know, the owners might say you're on borrowed time if things don't improve in 5 games' time. That's when you'll lose. We don't know. But in terms of would I take Thomas Tuchel, I don't know. I originally, no, I wouldn't have. But it has come to light with all. If you think about it now, with how sudden a sacking is, and you hear that certain players only signed because he was the manager, and his sale pitch of what he was going to drive Chelsea forward to is what they signed up. You know, that's what they signed up for. I mean, one of them was a big snaky Weasley rat snake thing from Leicester.
If you read the papers, he only moved there for Thomas.
Yeah, exactly. So
what a shame.
Well, yeah, well. That aside, as smug as that's made me feel a little bit, but that aside, it makes you wonder about the other deals and how they're talking about the whole Lukaku thing was done for his benefit. Why was he done that? Why did you sack him why did you get him in the first place and then decide to sack him? You know, not sack him, but get rid of the players that he clearly didn't want and was falling out with, and then sack him anyway. Why did you make all these things for it? If any of that has got any sort of truth to it, I've got more faith in Tuchel being a good manager and continuing that at Leicester. If he came to Leicester, is it realistic and possible?
Whether we could afford him or not is obviously another big question.
But I would take him now, knowing there's more light to it, because it sounded like, as good as he might come across the coach, the way he does his interviews and some of the things he has said, and some of the decisions he's made with players he signed and that, and how everything's gone on, whatever is in here, you do look at it with a raised eyebrow. If there's more truth behind it that supports
I get what you're saying, but you know, to me, I like the guy. You know, when we beat them in the World Cup, he made the players stay on the pitch because obviously we're not going up to the stand. You know, they didn't have to; they were going to go up. He made them stay on the pitch to acknowledge us going up for our medals, and I respected him for that. He's also taken the club through an horrendous time with this ownership, where he's probably had to do more than just manage the team. But it is back to the same excuse, you know, as we said with Poch. You know, we know Brendan's not on 10 million a year before anybody comes and tells me he's the best player. You know, he's the most expensive manager we've ever had. He's not on 10 million a year. But if we're asking for Pochettino, if we're asking for Tuchel, both of them are going to be on a lot more money than Brendan Rodgers is. They'll also want a bigger pot because they are used to buying big players. They're not used to taking players from the second division in France, like a Cornet, for example, and then expecting us to sell them on in a couple of years, which is the Leicester way. They are going to want to be in there paying £80 million for a player. But I do wonder. On a second, I do wonder, Dan, why was he allowed to spend all that money only to be sacked after 100 days of the new owners?
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to what he was saying. You know, that he's had regular contact with the owners. That the owners have been, you know, straight and honest with him from the get go. That okay, we are going to struggle. We haven't basically. To say it as it is, they've told him that they don't have a pot to piss in, and hopefully, he as a manager who is meant to be a master tactician in his role, hopefully will be able to steady the ship. And then in the long run, after this period of, you know, being in the mire or being back to normality. Because obviously, and I only say that with no disrespect. I say that as obviously Leicester have been, and I think you two will agree that you have been in that 5th position. You've had all these hearts, and it gets to a point where it to some of the fan base can be very expected. But now it's a case of listen, a sense of realism needs to be taken in here, and yes, we have the belief in Brendan to potentially turn it around. Whether the players actually say, you know what, if they think, oh, no, enough's enough with Brendan, similar to the Burnley and Dash situation, then it could be one of those. But I think with the situation with Top and Brendan is that they get on, don't they? They are
allegedly they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and Top trusts Brendan, Brendan trusts Top, and if Top was to turn around and say, "Listen, we've got no money. Any chance you can just? I'm sorry that we haven't got anything to give you. Please, can you just at least consolidate us and do as well as you can?" At the moment, we don't know that because we've not heard anything from Top. All we've heard is Brendan saying, "We ain't got a pot to piss in."
Sorry, in fairness, Top has actually come out and said in the Man United programme when we played them, my argument is he should have done it for the Brentford one, which was the first game. And yes, I know we haven't got money because we have got financial fair play to consider, and certainly UEFA fair play. UEFA are watching us like a hawk, along with Man City, Chelsea, or they'll get away with it anyway, and West Ham. But David, you said there, so something I don't like about Touche, miserable looking sod. Well, I don't exactly ever see Brendan smiling or whatever. Some of his antics may motivate the team, but he blames everybody for his mistakes. We've got one of those already, so there'll be no difference there. Claimed we were lucky winning the FA Cup. He lost me right there. Now, so I've got to be honest with you, David, and this may lead you to unsubscribing, leaving, whatever. I think we were lucky to win the FA Cup. I'm not going to lie. I think if we didn't have VAR at that game, we would have gone into extra time, and we'd made enough changes. We'd got defensive players on. We'd brought Wes Morgan on, not because he was a fantastic player that was going to add anything to the squad, because it was his last game, and we wanted to let him go out being on the pitch in a Wembley final, which I totally agree with. Do not get me wrong. I totally agree with that. But VAR loved us that day. I mean, it was literally one of those toenail decisions. And it had to go like that because that's how it had gone all season. So they couldn't then suddenly not do that. But I will say, I have to agree, in a way, we were lucky. If it had been the other way, I would have called Chelsea lucky, you know. So
of course.
We've got to take our blue-tinted spectacles off sometimes. Scott says here, Brad, do you see Leicester changing formations, etc., with the new coach coming in? And how do you think Face will get on when he gets a chance to play?
He'll get on a site better than an Ndidi or Mendy or whoever he wants to chuck at. Well, I say chuck at, but Phil at centre back. Surely he's going to get on better than that. Again, silver linings, he'll have more time to embed himself in with the club and his teammates, so that can only benefit it. In a sense, he's going to have some structure, I think. They normally do because they require the tactical information, and they will make set piece defending and set piece attacking things based on a shape, and they'll go right. When we're playing, when he'll be like, Brendan, if we play this and that, he will shape it. I think he will have a lot to do because Brendan likes to play 4 and 3 at the back. Well, I don't know why we say 3 at the back. It is 5 at the back. They're wing back, so they get back. So it is a back line of 5. It's just an attacking 5 instead of a defensive 5. But depending on the shape, he'll have his ways to do it. Him and Brendan will work close. I don't think he'll ever suggest, Brendan, you know what? I work on your set pieces, mate, but I think a 4-1-2-1-2 would be the best way to. I don't think you're going to have that influence on it, but it might help Brendan and the team benefit how they counter press. You know, a very common word with Leicester and Brendan in his press conferences is he wants to make it counter pressing, and I think the way you set up from a free kick, and we're not just talking who's in the box, you know, who's marking who. We're talking where players stand in the terms to maybe a Dewsbury Hall for a breakout. Are we going to have 2 people on the halfway line or just 1? What's the plan there? How will we? It's a lot of aspects. I think it will help us a lot more in that sense, in terms of in how we defend and attack them. But in terms of structure and in that side of things, that's not what he's been brought in for to tamper with too much.
And
a lot of managers as well, though, Chris. A lot of managers seem to think that it's on that. You know, I understand it's a results business, but sometimes I think managers need to have a sense of realism with their interviews. You know, and I only say that because I've started to see that with Burnley. Okay, under Dash, it was a case of, farm margins, this, and we, you know, if we'd have got the basics right, etc., right, and I've been used to that for years. But when we conceded so late against West Brom the other night, Company came out and said, you know what, if we'd have won that game, we wouldn't have deserved it because we were poor. We got the basics wrong. We didn't do this right. We looked flustered. And he said it as it is. And sometimes you want that from a manager. You want that honesty.
Yeah, I get what you say. I think we get onto Brendan's post-match speeches. We're back to the blaming everybody but himself. But Dan, I've got an announcement. Clean up in aisle 5. No, I mean, and I don't know what you think about this. Talking about managers coming out and making an announcement. Brendan Rodgers saying to a few players, look, you know, you might want to start looking for new clubs now. It's now come back that we've, you know, apart from Hamza, Casper, and he who shall not be named, they're the only ones we've got rid of, you know, apart from obviously the youngsters. So the likes of Yannick Vestergaard, Boubacar Samare, Kagla Soyuncu, Ayoze Perez, and Ryan Bertrand are now all still part of his team. And what he's come out now and said, being the great, you know, can't make up his mind from 1 minute, you know, used to be indecisive, but now he's not so sure. Brendan Rodgers opens the door for Leicester City fringe players to prove him wrong. Now, if I was one of them, I'd be going, up yours, Brendan. Yeah.
No, I agree. I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. You can look at it as a player or look at it as listen, you as a manager have said you've brought me in here to do a job. You know, when I talk Vestergaard and Bertrand in particular, you know, Soyuncu for me was probably one of the most wanted defenders when things were going strong with Leicester. It was like, wow, he's still very young. He can still do, you know, there's so much more to his game than what he's doing. And then a lot changed at Leicester where you signed Vestergaard after conceding 9 goals the season prior, and it was almost like, whoa, like, what's going on here? So for them players, you've got two ways of looking at this. Like, yeah, you brought me in, but you give me false pretenses, told me that I was going to be a starting 11 player, and then basically benchmark me, so up yours. Or you could just go, right, as a player, I've got to look at the bigger picture here and think, okay, he's willing to give me a chance. And if I slog my heart out, there's a very good chance that if we do have success, yeah, brilliant. But my main purpose now is because this manager has given me false hope and false pretenses that I'm now playing for a move. So it's tomato with the situation. Either way, they're either pissed off with Brendan or they're going to play their heart out for the club, knowing that success on a personal level may get them out.
Brad, this is what Brendan had to say today about this. When you're open to them, as in the players, you can speak openly and tell them where it lies for them. That's all you can do. I don't fall out with players. I speak openly. They appreciate the honesty. It's down to their decision or their agent's decision if they can get a club or whatnot. But what they can never do is say they haven't been told. They understand the position.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that from Mr. Coming to my office? Hey, Gucci belt. Come on.
No, hold on. No. We've never been disillusioned in the way some players have been brought in. We knew it as soon as it was announced. You know, we knew Vestergaard was a third, fourth. Well, he's become a fifth or sixth choice, but we knew he was brought in on the emergency of a rat breaking his leg. Right? He was brought in on emergency. There was no arse about it. Samore probably faltered to deceive, but he was told under no circumstances. It was clear and crystal. And Brendan has made that pretty much since the start of bringing in a player in one of his first interviews about it. And he said he wants him to be a hybrid to do the job between Ndidi and Tielemans. Now, he's probably flattered to disappoint in that. But it's easy to come out when we're 20th and say he's doing that, right? But you've already pointed this out, Dan, right? Burnley are sat in, a promotion spot. It's going reasonably well, but he's criticised your players, right? Now, whether rightly or wrongly, because of the performance, and whether rightly or not, he's criticised the effort that was put in because he didn't warrant getting a point, let alone potentially winning it until, they equalised late on.
Yeah.
Now, that's fine and dandy, isn't it, Dan? Because your team's doing well, you're fourth place, you're not too forced, it's going all right at the moment. But would we be looking at this in every different angle and pulling pins with red rope and looking at it and thinking, is it conspiracy? Is he doing it? Would we be making all these assumptions that suddenly Brendan's an awful manager and he hates all the players if Leicester were 8th in the table and had beaten 3 of the 6 opponents? Or, we wouldn't really. We when Samore came in, it was ill young, let him settle, give him all the time. But if Brendan's been honest, we have to look at the fact that Samore and Pratt have come in and gone, you were honest with us, you've been honest with us. I know Pratt's a different story because when he arrived, he was already out on loan. So it's a bit hard for you to connect with a manager when you're already tainted at the club. Saying that he's now come out himself.
It was Rogers that sent him out on loan, wasn't it?
Yeah, but no, I don't think. I think he was already potentially going out the door with the club. It might have already been a soured relationship and brought in. I can't remember, to be honest with you.
In fairness, I don't think so. I think he was. It was always in the squad. He was just never.
Yeah, exactly. So they wanted to get. He wanted to be playing football, so he was sent out on loan. For whatever reason, Brendan turned around after his assessment of the squad and went, you are a fringe player here right now. From what I've seen of you, you're not going to get game time. I'm going to send you out on loan. Samore, you've been here a year. He threw a hump. He's French. You think we'd learn, but we got him in the we got him pretty much, after success. So we thought maybe the French had turned a corner. He's Lassalle. He's throwing his toys out the pram. He's not happy. He maybe misinterpreted what he meant, that he was going to develop him to a hybrid to play. And we've been impressed with what we've seen because he's come on and gone, all right, then, the clearance has been laid for me this season. I know where I stand. If I go elsewhere and I get first in football, brilliant. But if I'm still here, I'm up for this challenge because you're telling me I'm not out the door, but you're letting me know honestly what my place is in this team. And I want to fight for it. And me and you, Chris, have come out and been impressed with his performances this season. So just because we're 20th, it's easy to make it sound doom and gloom. But realistically, he's been honest with these players, and I can appreciate a bit of honesty because if we were 6th and 7th, we're going, good on you, Brendan. These players need to know sometimes when they're playing shit and not doing well. That was awful against Brighton, but we're 7th. He clearly knows what he's doing. Power on. Same with Chris. You are Chris. Same with Dan with Burnley. But if Burnley were 19th, Dan, and he'd have come out and said that, can you honestly say that, maybe not yourself, but can you honestly say that the Burnley fans are happy with things right now? They'd be going, oh, he's turning on the players. Look at that. It's his fault. He made substitutions.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's football in general. It's how it happens. And
don't get me wrong. Under Dash, we had that though. Under Dash, we had that.
Sorry, I'm going to move on because Brad kind of took a while to say that answer there. So we've got some more questions coming up. Somebody said here, can we see Brighton? Scott said it again. Can we see Brighton approaching us for Brendan? It is a link that's already been up. And I've just seen here that Chelsea have paid Brighton in compensation for Potter and his 4 assistants £215 million in compensation. So I think let's stick with you with this one, Brad. They could afford it.
Well, yeah, but I think that figure's widely exaggerated on how that is, considering I also heard Graceful talk, and I know Brighton fans on my Twitter have posted about it. They're not happy and laugh about it, but apparently Potter's gone from a very low wage, scoff at that because it's 36 grand a week he's on or whatever it is, to what he's been paid at Chelsea. I find it hard to believe if he was only on 36 grand a month, and his staff would have been on less than him because he's the manager. 250 sounds like a very wildfire figure they're throwing out. But they could afford it, but that doesn't stop him going. I think it's very risky, a big gamble, and I kind of agree with, I think it's BBC maybe, that said someone said it's a gamble for the club and Potter. Nah, that's them. In terms of Brighton, they're having a great start to the season. They've got a very promising squad. It's a job that any manager would be grateful to take over and face the challenge. So regardless of whether they've got the money or not, regardless of if they want him or not, Brendan, if they want him, bring him in if that's what they want to do, and that's what Brendan wants to do. I would not see it as a job he'd turn his nose at, because we see ourselves quite equal, don't we, Chris? We've made comparisons with ourselves like the likes of Brentford and in terms of transfers, Brighton in terms of how they go about making their club look successful and beat the odds sort of thing with how they're doing. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I just...
Dan, do you think, at the moment, Brighton are a nice prospect to look at, fourth in the Premier League? All right, we know they're probably not going to end the season there, but they've obviously now got some money to spend. They've sold, as well as that money, they've obviously got the money from selling Cucurella, or whatever he's called, to Chelsea, and another big exit as well. Could it appeal to Brendan?
I suppose it could. It depends how you look at football. If you were to look at football as it was some sort of stock market, not last season, but a couple of seasons ago, you'd be like, wow, shit, Leicester are on the rise. Put your money on that because you'll make a nice return. At the moment, it's almost like the tables have turned and Leicester and Brighton have swapped positions. Brighton look like the most interesting of up-and-coming clubs to be having hopefully in their sense, a bit of success. So would you blame Rodgers for going? No. But then yet again, you'd like to think that they'd probably, as they've done before, like they did with Potter, they would go with that unknown quantity that's had success at a foreign club and hope that it pays off in the long run. Someone like Kjetil Knutsen at Bordeaux Glimt, or something like that.
He's being linked with, his name's appeared quite a bit, but let's move on to the point then that, okay, whether he goes or he doesn't go, or if he's sacked or he isn't sacked. I'm going to stick with you for this, first of all, Dan, because this was, first of all, said as a joke on one of my shows by Ant, and I must admit, I spat my water out all over the laptop. He wants Sean Dyche in, if only for a short time until the window, to basically kick their arses, because he would. Now, my thoughts. I think years ago I would have taken him because he always used to be linked with us. Now I think for me, I think football's moved on to a different level. But when I've heard him talk on a couple of things, he actually comes across as knowing his stuff. But I still don't necessarily want him. But do you think he'd be a good manager?
He'd be an absolutely fantastic appointment for Leicester. And I'm not just saying that because he's been a former Burnley manager. I'm saying that because, as you said rightly there, every interview he has given afterwards has been the chairman. The reason why it went so sour at Burnley is because of the chairman didn't want to put any more money in because he was looking to sell the club. So there was that window where we only spent 750k, which is literally back pocket change in the Premier League. So when he's coming out with comments like that, saying that, that after 10 years, a bad 3 months should not make him think, oh, fuck Burnley and everything else. It's the bigger picture. I think you'd be getting a quality manager. You've got to look at people like David Moyes. David Moyes didn't have a pot to piss in at Everton. Went to West Ham, didn't work out the first time because of all the troubles, but second time it's worked out. People might say that he tactically has come out and said he would love to have changed it, but the reason he played that tactic is because of the players he had at his disposal, and he had to utilise the strengths of those players that he had. So whether you play defensive or if you can grind out results like 1-0s under Sean Dyche and finish in a respectful 5th position again, you would accept that hand on heart right now. And it's only steady growth from there. You've got to look at the fact that Dash has been so underrated. Potter at Brighton has got the Chelsea job. But yet Sean Dash, without a pot to piss in at Burnley, who achieves European football. Brighton haven't had European football, by the way.
Yeah.
Burnley had European football under this manager. Without a pot to piss in, Potter has had money to spend.
Without a pot to piss in?
Well, yeah, this is what I mean. He's managed
he
signed Adam Lallana from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Adam Lallana from Liverpool, his wages are probably about 4 signings at Burnley Football Club in itself.
Yeah.
So
I get that. And I just wonder, though, Brad, and you were throwing your head back in amazement when I mentioned that name. But even
it's the tag. It's the tag that comes along with Sean Dash.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that puts people off.
Possibly. And I've never been Potter's biggest fan. He may now go on and prove me wrong being at Chelsea, and he may go on and win the European Cup because he's got the players that he'll never have at Brighton. But where he came from, I think he had to prove it, which is why I don't want Steve Cooper yet, because he's not won anything. He was lucky to get promoted because of VAR and licking John Moss's bum. But Brad, even if we take him, it would only be it'd be like a Sam Allardyce. Keep us up, but then when he's kept us up, dump him and get somebody else in to play this, to play the football that we want.
That not necessarily, because like Dan's made a very compelling point and a very compelling argument. I mean, for me, the reason I throw my head back is, unfortunately, the stigma that is around Dyche with long ball Burnley football. But I do want to see a different variation of Sean Dyche. He barely had a weekend in Watford before he realised he'd been handed his P45 and a job at Watford in the same week. So, I mean, look at Eddie Howe. He had to people were a bit, with Eddie Howe. And a lot of people probably still think, well, he's got the money, but let's see how well he really does. He's only going to be there in a couple of seasons. Me and you said it, Chris, didn't we? He's only going to be there at Newcastle spending the money for a bit. And then when they realise, they're doing Man City, they'll get a couple of seasons out and go, thanks for that, and I'll piss off. We need a manager that's going to lure the big name talents to that's what's going to happen. Let's face it, whether we like it or not. I just want to see, maybe we're the club that has to take the risk. You don't know, but is Sean Dyche going to suddenly go, get rid of the pre-Madonnas? They're out of the club. He likes to work with youth. He has the trust in it, which is a Leicester way. He's not shy to tell these players where they need to improve and chart the responsibility for it as well. So I think he'd get on with some of the heads there. But in terms of being one-dimensional, you mentioned Sam Allardyce for obvious reasons in being one-dimensional. My fear is that's the big structure of something that isn't the Leicester way. And maybe like Dan said, maybe in Sean Dyche's case at Burnley, the reason we played that way is because you try and play fancy and look where it gets you. You're playing Championship football for it. The squad you had, I know it's completely different, but it got you Championship football because he dared to do something exciting and not play the boring way that everybody demanded, and be careful what you wish for, because it inevitably played a big part in the game.
Could you do that with us, Brad? Because we've got, no disrespect,
well, I was getting there.
Because we've got better players.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting to, mate. Funny enough, you read my mind with your preemptive.
Great minds. That's what it is.
I know. Well, that's why I take both responsibility in the plural of mine. So don't I?
I was more thinking of the band that was out in the early 70s and 80s. I was thinking more Simple Minds, but carry on.
No, that's why you're here, Dan. But anyway,
hey.
You kick him out for that. You can't.
Do carry on.
But maybe we are the club that gives the guys that chance to show that he's not just a one-trick pony in terms of what he does on the pitch and what he can do about. With Leicester, he might come here and go, right, I've got the quality in front of me. To reverse it, we say, would Pep be able to do with Stoke City what he's doing at Man City? Of course he wasn't. He hasn't got the talent. He hasn't got the quality, he hasn't got the depth, he hasn't got the money to produce what he does at Man City. Would Dyche be able to do that? There's only one way to find out, maybe. Do Leicester want to wait and see if he does that elsewhere? Maybe they do. But I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. Like I always said, even the curse of the managers, when they stepped out as Leicester manager, they had my backing to do as well as they did. Some of them made me want to scratch my eyes out with what they did to the club, but still, nonetheless, I would still back him to show what he can do with better players, with the greatest respect. Now, I'm sure you appreciate that, knowing what I mean by that. You know, we're having better players. If he can do something, or is he a Sam Allardyce?
Yeah. I mean, Dan, I read this and I'm very much and Dan Brad will know I'm like this, is that I'm not a Brendan in and I'm not a Brendan out. It depends which week you catch me on, depends how the team's played, and depends what I've read from somebody that knows what they're talking about, you know. And Brad knows a couple of journalists, you know, that I trust to actually write decent things. But I did read that, and I kind of get it, that Brendan was trying to change the way Leicester play. He is trying to make us more possession-based, away from the Ranieri way, if you like, which was exciting and it won us, but football's moving on. Football evolves, and we can't always play the same way for the same 20 years. But basically, it's a simple question. Can Dyche change? You know, he said he wanted, you know, you just said he wanted to change at Burnley. Could he change the way that he thinks? If he's
it goes back to my point about David Moyes. Look at how he was at Everton. He had to set up defensively there and rely on the likes of Joseph Yobo, David Unsworth, Tony Hibbert. These players that had to basically, Phil Jagielka, all do a job. Leighton Baines. Defensively, Everton were going to get, you know, have players attacking them week in, week out. You know, we saw, looking forward, the likes of, Yakubu, just as he's probably peaked towards end of his career, Victor Anichebe, and stuff like that. He didn't have a pot to piss in, did David Moyes? He's gone to West Ham, where he's had money, and I firmly believe, given the chance at Manchester United, David Moyes may have got it right there as well.
I think so. I think you're right.
But I just believe that sometimes these managers have a stigma about them, and they think, oh well, he's been at Burnley. How many times? And I'll say it from a player perspective now. How many people went, Burnley, fuck off to the Championship, do one. We don't want you in the Premier League. You're this and you're that. As soon as we went down, we want Cornet, we want Ben Mee, we want Tarkowski, we want McNeil. If they're that shit, why are you coming crawling afterwards? Yeah. These are players that are all played under the Dyche way. Ben Mee has been Brentford fans kiss his arse now. They're like, you know what a signing we have got. You mentioned about having Ben Mee. He was on a free. You mentioned it yourself. These are players that, may have worked under Dyche, but they are nurtured footballers. They have learned that in a club that has had to do the dirty work. If they go to a club that has to then basically, you've got a bit more freedom now because you're not going to have to, you know, pick up the pieces. You're not going to have to sit back and hope that, you know, we can clear the ball. Yeah. I think that he will be a very good manager, and people are just doubting his ability due to the tag that he's had. Yeah. And it's one of them things. Brendan can change all he wants, but I think sometimes, you know, Dyche wanted to change it at Burnley and it went stale.
I'll cut in there again because we're moving on and we're running out of time. Brad, John is asking, do you think the break will be good for Leicester?
I think it can be, especially in today's football. These players will maybe have that. Some of them will be obviously taking in the events. Some of them aren't English and probably not also that bothered. Either way, it's going to help. Team building, you can have an exercise, you can give the lads an extra day off training, group activity. Leicester could probably do something to help with the morale situation. Maybe I watched too much of Dream Team as a kid and shows like that. Used to see him going on that. But yeah, it surely can only benefit a couple of extra days on the training ground. and working on it. A new set piece coach coming in, he gets more time to work with them. It surely only benefits Leicester. And just quickly, Dan, just so you know, we're all right to steal Bentley if we wanted to, because he was on loan at us first in the Championship. I remind you, that's there. As well as your, I know he wasn't your player last season, but an old player of yours, Keane, who's Evertonian. Michael Keane.
Well, we take anybody and we just let them go. We don't, you know. Harry Kane, he's no good. Let him go.
Well, Phoebe Yakini will score. That was a player that sent me down memory lane when you mentioned him.
Going to end with this one now. So a very quick answer, if we can, Dan. Scott saying, would Dyche even want to come to Leicester, considering the staff we have recently brought in, i.e. a set-piece coach? Would the job, and I know he isn't doing a job, and he's being linked quite heavily with Bournemouth, would he come to Leicester?
100%. 100%.
Fine. Good. That's the shortest answer we've had all night.
Yeah, that's you. You wanted a short answer, you got one.
He did. Great. Look, thanks everybody for the show. It's been an hour and a half. It's gone on. I was worried that we wouldn't have much to talk about tonight, but we have.
Yeah, you remember Dan from talking, so can I.
Yes, you were the two wrong people to get on the same show, weren't you? Really? You know. Anyway, happy.
It's like Janet Street Porter against Janet Street Porter, isn't it?
We are going to be back. Don't know when. Don't know where. Probably on Monday, but I have no idea as yet as to what's going on. Couple of quizzes next week, like I say, being lined up. Brad's on Tuesday, up against the knee-high knuckle duster from Manchester. We've got Reese on Thursday, and then Dan is with us the following week, taking on little Jake. So thanks everybody
Mr.
for
Hot
watching.
Chocolate.
Yes, thanks everybody for joining in. Dan, just tell everybody where they can find you. Your details are below, but just tell everybody where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Burnley. Please help. I want to get out of here. It's a shithole. But it's my shithole. No, jokes aside, thank you very much for having me back. It's nice to be involved, whether it's Premier League or what. So thank you first and foremost. And you can find me at Turf Morehouse on all social media. So just search away, and I'm sure you'll find us. So thank you.
Indeed. And Brad, you had your own show earlier. Again, details are below in the YouTube description. Where can people find you, though?
You'll find me by searching me name in Facebook. You can find me there if you really want to stalk me hardcore style. But apart from there, you can find me on Twitter at Fulltime Focus, and obviously the link is in the description as Chris said there. But the channel is A Matter of Opinion. So yeah, that's where you'll find me, and here obviously as well, and probably on occasion, because I feel sorry for him, I'm on Dan's channel.
This was the problem, you see. My community service ended. I'm moving on quickly, guys. Thank you very much for coming on. Stay safe, and we'll speak soon.
No worries.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris.
Cheers.
So, like I said, I don't know when we'll be back. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and if you have, please smash the likes, and we will be more than happy. But also the two guys that you've just been on as well, please do give them your support, because believe you me, Dan will always wear it. We'll be back whenever, I don't know. Thanks a lot. RIP Madge, and we will talk soon. Take care. Good night. God bless.